7 years ago, it was a Target, well, an abandoned Target.
Yeah, but I remember doing my back to school shopping in that Target. That was. Okay, I'm Alex Kaufman, and you're at Kaufman and Forman, 8215 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs, Georgia. We're pretty much a full service firm,
Okay.
Which is rare for a firm our size. We do business litigation. We have family law, collections.
Gotcha.
We really pretty much anything other than criminal and sort of high end tax. We'll do some estate planning. We coordinate with a lot of firms all around the country. Which is sort of our model. Mm-hmm. Our model is you hire the firm. If it's something we can't do, we'll bring in that resource. So
Gotcha.
We're a one-stop shop. One of the things that makes us unique is number of clients. We've had almost 10,000 clients.
Wow.
That's not matters, but individual clients, which I think is pretty unique for a small firm. And I think that tells us sort of the kind of economic opportunities in this area. Mm-hmm. We have affiliated firms in China. Which most firms our size don't. We have in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Hong Kong. So I think that gives us sort of this global reach, which I think shows where Sandy Springs, is. I mean, I'm going to Arizona tomorrow for work, and DC next week. I mean, this area is really, and that's because of the caliber of business and opportunities here. So I mean, I think that's pretty. Our location is huge. Mm-hmm. Being right off 400 and Roswell Road is to the major arteries. Hailing distance to Roswell, Dunwoody, and Alpharetta. Mm-hmm. Plus, we go into town, and I think that's really what makes Sandy Springs so special is its location part. I mean, it's in the middle of everything. Before we were here, we bought our building here in 2001.
Okay.
But we were in the terraces and in perimeter, and I mean, and that's where my dad was most of my childhood.
Yeah.
And I mean, technically it's Dunwoody, but it's in this.
Yeah.
The day we told everyone we lived in Dunwoody, because there was no Sandy Springs and it didn't exist, and Dunwoody didn't exist, but it was something that people had a geographic idea of, and but that so you had the terraces, and then like where the McCormick and Schmick's and all that, those were just fields,
right? And
so I grew up. I learned how to ride my bike on that field. My dad and I used to shoot model rockets.
Wow.
There, and it was like nothing.
Nice.
And then across where the Walmart is. That was a cow farm.
No kidding.
And that's in my. I mean, that's just
that's
to
in
tell
one
you,
generation.
Now it's like, that's to give you and how quickly that has changed to being what it is.
Yeah, so, well, and that's the only constant, right? Is that the change is going to come. It's just how do we control it? How do we moderate it?
What is that vision?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
I think change is always good, and if you're staying the same, you're falling behind.
Right.
And I think we've done a great job in Sandy Springs, in all honesty, of really trying to balance. A residential with a commercial identity, because you need both for tax bases and for all these things. But we're no longer the sort of residential bedroom community to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But you're between two economic behemoths, which is Atlanta proper and Alpharetta and that community. And so you need to figure out where we're going to be. I think we've added this culture dynamic. With City Springs, I think that's a good thing to bring that culture. I think any city really does need to have a downtown identity.
5, 6, 7 years ago, it was a Target, well, an abandoned Target.
Yeah, but I remember doing my back to school shopping in that Target. That was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it builds a community. It's a place. It's also just a place to gather.
Exactly.
I wrote a book about the history of Sandy Springs, which is actually the pictures are great, and it's pretty neat. But it was always sort of this trading center, and at a crossroads between different areas. And now it's changing from not just being a crossroads or a trading area, but to now that you're here, what are we going to do?
Right.
And that's I think still in development. I think it's still more than just having a great downtown, but what does that culture look like? And
exactly.
That's part of your question was, well, in the next 25, 35 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think everything's open. I think this North Sandy Springs revitalization project will be interesting to see, going from concept to reality.
Right.
I'd love to see Sandy Springs really take advantage of having some public spots along the river. I think that would really separate it from really any other city in Metro Atlanta. There's really most of it's all private or just parkland, But I think having it where you had a real river walk and a real place to kind of gather, aside from just normal park activities. Sure. But I think that would be something that would be great. I think it's nice that it's got this sort of younger family coming in. It had sort of aged, and now you've seen it come back around, and people want to be here.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And I think the economic, we talked a little bit about the economics, but I really, I think the future for the economy is great in Sandy Springs. I mean, that's why our firm's here and not downtown. The community where we're really most invested from a business standpoint.
What makes you guys different?
I think three real things separate us. One is our model, is that you hire the firm. All of our lawyers are on salary, so there's no incentive to have a lawyer, work on a matter that just because he brought it in or something that, she had an interest in. We would literally hire the firm, we'd bring it to the least expensive attorney that's got the most expertise in it. You don't get passed around, though. You usually have one relationship person.
Gotcha.
And then I think that's one. And so, you get a better result.
Right.
For the value. Two is if it's something we can't do, we'll bring in that other expertise. So you don't have to feel like, I don't know, is this the right person? And the last is we're relationship based. We've had almost 10,000 clients. It's a family business still at the end of the day. We value those relationships. We'd much rather have a client that has hundreds of matters with us, as some of them do, than going out always looking for new clients.
Sure.
Because that's expensive for us, and we like having that known relationship. And I think our clients like knowing that, I can deal with Alex or Rob or whoever else, and know that that's the team. And so we have a lot of stability there. Gotcha. And I think most small firms don't have in this area. I guess we're probably more of a middle-sized firm in the Sandy Springs market, but we're part of this greater Atlanta region. But most firms don't have the reach that we do here in the local area.
And do you guys do anything in particular as individuals to try and market this business outside?
Sure, absolutely. We will pay for any of our lawyers to do any of that. Okay. We think it's important, and it's not really just marketing. Like, don't just put advertise in a paper. That's not really what we look for. We tell every one of our lawyers to find something they care about in their community and be involved, and we'll pay for it. You want to join Rotary? We'll pay for it. You want to do something through your church or temple? We'll pay for it. Our only sort of goal is that's something you're going to commit to do.
Yeah.
And we find that because if you just join a social organization or something to just meet clients, it doesn't work. Right. You have to be invested.
Absolutely.
And so we really are invested in our community. We make sure our lawyers are invested in the community. And I think that's one of the big things. Obviously, when one of our lawyers or if someone's selected for like super lawyers or something like that, we always we'll pay for that. But we find that it's really, if people see you who you are, that's much easier to make a client, make that connection than just to go there for shilling for business.
Anything that you might say or offer to a prospective client out there, or something that
my thought is you have to trust the attorney, and if you don't feel that you can share that information, because the attorney only knows what they're told,
what you give them,
right? And so I think it's a relationship based, and I always find it's better to have a true relationship. I like to have people meet with me. I give people my cell phone number. It's not a 9-to-5 job, and if your attorney treats it that way, then you need a new attorney, because problems aren't 9-to-5.
That's right. Life isn't.
Life isn't, and everyone always thinks, I need to go to my attorney when something goes bad. The best value you can get is get with an attorney before it goes bad. You want to start a business? Let's talk about it. Let's figure out the best type of incorporation for you. Let's lay out this your operating agreement on the front end when you're in the honeymoon stage with your partners, versus when things go bad, it's much more expensive. Absolutely. So I mean, to me, a good relationship, get a good accountant, a good banker, and a good insurance agent, along with your lawyer, you'll be much happier, and talk to them. The communication key is really, I think, one of those things that's lost. Everyone wants to just fire off an email or a text message, but I think really talking, because sometimes there's questions that you as the client may have that are not really the questions that need to be asked. And so with absent, if you get an email, that question may just go back and forth. But in the course of a conversation, the lawyer may be prompted to go, well, that's not the real issue you have.
Right.
You may think that's your issue, but here, and that exchange doesn't really happen. I think that's one. Two is, talk about the rates on the front end. Pay your bill, and if you're having real trouble, start on the front end explaining why you have the trouble and share it. Otherwise, the lawyer is just going to think, maybe you're just not that serious.
Right.
But if there's a real problem, I think with that communication and that real trust that happens earlier, people can work with you, and that happens much more when you're willing to share and talk, and go to a lawyer first. Meet a couple, find the one you really connect with. It really is a personal relationship. It's with the internet, it's changing.
Sure.
And we have clients that we've never met in person, but it's always easier when you really know that person. Absolutely. Because that trust, because sometimes you got to say, look, I really think you should settle this case, and if you don't have that real trust with the client may not think that you're really out for their best interest. So I always think that's an important part of it.